Critical Role over on the Geek and Sundry Twitch channel. Welcome to everybody joining us live, and don't worry if you can't stay. As per our usual, we will be posting this on Monday. Forever thanks to Akuma Mika, Emma Frost 91 for our logo. This week features 3 more amazing artists. The art you're currently seeing is from Sama Ma, who is apparently on Team Instinct in Pokemon Go.
Tisk.
Her Twitter account is at Samazkma. Samazkma. Later you'll be seeing pieces from David Rodriguez at Third Clover, that's 3RDCLOVER. And you'll have to forgive me because this is either in German or in Dutch. Deutsch für Uk at Katja DFE. That's at KATJADFE. And if you'd like your art featured here, please let any of the show's hosts know via Twitter, and we'll do our best to get it on the show. Or you can contact us on our official Twitter at Gilmore_gossip. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe so you can catch us each and every week. I'm Akiva, found on Twitter at AkivaDavid, AKIVADAPHYDD. And joining me today are my excellent friends. Let's introduce ourselves and tell us, if your co-hosts were transformed into dragons from D&D, what do you see them being turned into based on their personality?
Hi everybody, Kalia here, otherwise known as Cosmic Candy over on Twitter. Let's see, if you guys were turned into dragons, what would you be? What would you be? I think Cat would be Silver. Because she's generally friendly and likes a good story, likes a little bit of adventure, and I'm probably way off base, but this is my interpretation.
I know, I like it. I like it.
And let's see, Akiva. He would be a green dragon. He's friendly, and he's affable, and he likes to talk to people, but don't let that fool you. Underneath it all, he's an evil bastard.
Well, I am a DM.
Love you, Akiva. Love you.
Well, on one hand, I'm flattered because I don't really think I'm very charismatic or sociable. But on the other hand, am I that easy to see through?
Hi guys, I'm Kat. My Twitter handle has actually changed, so if you're following me on Kitten Smitten G, as of today, I will not be updating that Twitter anymore, so go check a follow to my new Twitter handle, which is Castiel Games, CASSTI3L Games, at Castiel Games. I'm gonna have to say, and I didn't even read this question, so I'm like scrounging, I'm like, oh my gosh, what would I? I would have to think Kalia is a blue dragon, and the reason for that is I kind of see Kalia as someone who's like likes the pretty gems and all of that kind of thing, but has like a very strong streak to her. Like if you bully anybody, or if you say anything wrong, or if you do like if you cross that line, she's just like no, like. So I kind of think blue dragon, and I actually thought green dragon for Akiva too, Kalia. So
ouch!
Even before you said it.
Nice.
Very charismatic, but you know, has that evil streak to him.
For my answer, I actually see you both as silver dragons. Very outgoing, very social. But one thing people don't seem to realize is, although silver dragons are protective, they won't hesitate to send others to face something if they believe that those individuals are strong enough to handle it. And as DMs, that's what I see you guys doing.
Oh, interesting. See, you've had a lot longer to think about this than we have. The answer is way deeper.
Well, although I wrote the question down, I honestly didn't give it any thought until maybe 3 minutes ago.
Impressive. Impressive. I like it.
Well, before we get into the episode, we have a few pre-show announcements. Geek and Sundry posted the Carnival panel by the Critical Role cast, and it is awesome.
It's hilarious.
Yes.
Absolutely hilarious.
You can find the link to that down in the description below. YouTuber Cilantro Gamer brought to my attention an excerpt from Sam and Liam's old podcast recounting their first game. So if you have not heard that, it's just an excerpt from the full podcast. But that link is also in the description below. So many thanks to Sil for getting that for us. And in just a few days, Kalia and I will be at Gen Con.
Yes! Yes! I get to go pick up Akiva, and then we're gonna go right to Indy on Wednesday. So that'll be fun.
Indeed. So for all of you out there in the Critter Twitterverse, be sure to let us know when and where the Critter meetups are, because we would love to chat with you guys face to face and hear your thoughts and opinions, not only on the show but also on different ways maybe we can improve the podcast.
Also, I'm going to be changing my name to probably Kalia Gen Con, or Cosmic Candy Gen Con, something like that, so that everybody knows that I'm actually there at the time. I've seen other critters do that at the various cons. So I will do that, and definitely feel free to reach out to me. Akiva and I are both DMing for 32 hours of the convention.
Yep.
But certainly during our free time, we want to meet up with folks.
Absolutely.
And especially the cast. Especially the cast.
Well, that's part of the reason why we're going. Raisin Girl 13 asks, are we doing the live show? Unfortunately, the live show starts at 7 p.m.
8 p.m.
Well, yeah. 8 p.m. The local Gen Con time. And that's an hour before our shift ends. So, unfortunately, we will not be able to get there at the live show.
But as soon as I'm off shift, I'm running back to the hotel and I'm going to watch it. So.
Yes, absolutely. So that will bring us to our comments from last episode. This week it comes from G-Man. He says, I've been thinking about this a while now, but the elves planning this counterattack, and in a matter of weeks, game time, I don't think they're going to be able to get all of the vestiges in time, they being Vox Machina, of course. Unless they can either do one of the more dangerous things in tabletop games and split up, or they can get some of their friends to get one for them. With the way these the quest to get these vestiges is set up, I don't necessarily think Vox Machina would be able to get one of their friends to go get it for them.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
However, let's keep in mind that time works differently in the Feywild.
We just need to figure out which way it works differently. Does it work differently longer or slower?
Or does it work differently randomly? Sometimes it's longer, sometimes it's slower, sometimes it's backwards.
Yeah, all of that too, and I'm not too sure how this attack is actually going to work. So I have a feeling that something else may go wrong between now and then. We don't know. I mean, it's a couple of weeks' time from now. If the attack actually takes place, will it even be able to take the dragon down? I highly doubt it. So I think, these guys are still going to need to find those vestiges, and they might just have to come in and finish the job.
Yeah, if anything, the way I see it working is the armies are a distraction force, while Vox Machina takes the dragon down itself.
Yeah.
So.
And it may not even be at the same time.
Indeed. But, no, there is the possibility that Vox Machina comes out of the Feywild, maybe minutes after they left the Prime Material plane, and then the attack, as planned by the elves, doesn't happen for a month or 2 months. The elves would only see it as being a week or two, but
yeah, Adam Schwartz brings up another interesting aspect here. It would suck if the memory wipe aspect of the Feywild is put into play. So much potential character development at risk of being erased.
That will really depend on how Matt plays the Feywild. The way I've always played it was a denizen of the Feywild would wipe their memories. So if they left the Feywild before they encountered somebody else living in the Feywild, like they get the bow and then poof, they're in the Prime Material, they would still remember everything. Then again, Matt could play it differently.
Right.
So
I think it's technically a roll, isn't it? You have to roll when you exit to lose your memory or not. So that even if he does implement that rule, there's a chance that not everyone is going to lose their memories.
I'm pulling open the DMG right now.
Which would be even more interesting. Yeah. I'm just putting that out there. If, like, some people remember, can you imagine if everyone forgot what happened in there except Scanlan?
And no one would believe him.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
And the only proof that they actually went was the fact that they have the bow.
They have the bow, yep.
But we'll just have to wait and see.
Scanlan could just go to town on that one.
I'm thinking, and this is just a suspicion, I don't think you're going to find it in the DMG, Kalia. I think...
No.
It is in the DMG.
Yeah, all of the planes and everything are in the DMG.
I didn't have it open. I'll open it now.
No.
Memory loss, Feywild, page 50 of the DMG.
Okay. Well, for anybody at home that has a DMG, feel free to open it now. I'm going to go ahead and open my own.
58. Where is it at?
It's under Time Warp. So whenever a creature or group of creatures leaves the Feywild, after spending at least one day on that plane, you can choose a time change that works best for you. A wish spell can be used to remove the effect of up to 10 creatures. Some powerful Fey have the ability to grant such wishes and might do so if the beneficiaries agree.
It's actually up above that. It's up above that.
The memory loss is above it.
Oh, sorry.
A creature that leaves the Feywild...
Wisdom saving throw.
Yeah, DC 10 Wisdom saving throw. Fey creatures automatically succeed, as do any creatures like elves that have Fey ancestry trait. So the twins will remember.
The twins and Keyleth are both good.
Yes.
So there is a saving throw. DC 10 Wisdom saving throw.
On a successful save, the creature's memories remain intact but are a little hazy. Any spell that can end a curse can restore the creature's lost memories.
So remove curse or even
greater restoration.
Yep.
So they're not at a complete loss. But
we will have to see. Haha. Wahaha.
You'll have to forgive me if I pronounce this incorrectly. I'm assuming that's a capital I and not an L. INA in the chat says, Matt is all about narrative. I really doubt it, but then again, I'm on the wrong side of the DM screen. Well, in this particular case, we all are, because we're not Matt.
That's true, but I like the concept.
I find that even us here at Gilmore's Glorious Gossip, that DM, we have a pretty good insight into Matt because we do the same thing, And I know my DMing style is really similar to his. I've noticed a lot of similarities between the things that Matt does and the things that I do for my games. So he and I tend to think alike. But it would be interesting, that being said, I would have them roll their saving throws, because, and the reason for this is because it's going to enhance the story if they have to figure out why they can't remember their time,
Right?
why they've got the bow.
Yeah. I love that. I love throwing that uncertainty and conflict in there. It's like, okay, you as the player know that your characters have gone through all of this stuff. But guess what? Now your players can't remember Jack. Like, they might have little nuances of what might have happened. And just see how they deal with that. See what that does to the group dynamic.
Indeed.
That'd be really interesting.
Indeed.
I mean, you've already done that to me, Akiva, as Taliri. You've already done that to me.
I would whistle innocently, but it'd be a little piercing over the broadcast. So
not only that, but everybody would see the shimmer of green and they would see the puff of smoke coming out of your nostrils.
Well, true. So that will bring us into the actual episode 61. I know we mentioned, I know one of the individuals in the chat, Raisin Girl 13, had mentioned not wanting to be here for spoilers. So, for anyone who does want to avoid spoilers that has not seen episode 61, this is your warning. So, thank you for joining us, and we hope to catch you on Monday when we post this, or as soon as after you guys get to see episode 61. So, please don't forget us.
Yep.
One comment that I do want to make before we talk about the episode itself. At various points over Twitter, Laura and Taliesin and Marisha and Sam all mentioned that San Diego Comic-Con was rather rough on their voices and such. And it really showed in Marisha's voice, and I felt so sorry for her.
Yeah, that's the point of, or I guess that's the pitfall of being a voice actor. And being in these loud environments and having to speak at elevated volumes a lot. Yeah, it happens.
Yeah, I just wanted... go ahead.
Oh, she said that she was going to record the next day?
Yeah, that surprised me.
I'm like, what? Are you crazy? You can't even talk a normal sentence now. But hopefully she went okay with that. I sent her good thoughts.
Indeed. INA actually asked one further question about the Feywild that I'd like to touch on. She says, or he, I apologize, they say, what about Pike and the Feywild? Isn't there a time conflict then, if the time difference is there? Maybe, maybe not. Ashley's time there could be played off as, for Pike, it was a dream. She was asleep at the time.
Yeah, she sends a projection of herself in, so for her it could be like a couple of seconds.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting if she shows up in the next episode, if they ask her and go, so how much time actually passed last time when you visited us last time? It might give them a bit of insight.
Yeah,
well, she actually will show up for the next episode, and the reason I know this is because she's going to be at Gen Con, so she is going to be there for the live episode.
Yep.
Yay! Fantastic.
Liam, however, will not.
Which is kind of sad, but... So... we will see. So, getting into the episode itself, it picks up just after the bear aftermath, as I will call it, with the group trying to figure out exactly what happened with Keyleth and Vex and Trinket inside the trees after they cut the rest of the party off. Not too much to say there, but Matt did go over again what some of the bonuses were: the primal rage for Trinket and the benefit from the Hunter's Mark.
And also, if Trinket goes down in a combat and there's nothing currently within the necklace, the amulet, as Matt is wanting us to call it now, due to copyright reasons, if there is nothing in the necklace or the amulet, Trinket automatically stabilizes and returns back into the amulet.
Yes, that was revealed on Twitter, though, not in the episode.
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
I think that's fantastic that he's created an emergency evac for this pet that I think everyone would be it would just shatter people if he was killed.
Yeah, and I think Travis's pleas of Matt, do not let this bear die, it will shatter my marriage. Finally got some reciprocation there. So they travel further into the Moonbrush, and they come across the Lycans.
And I made a joke about this because, everybody was like, Lycans, and I typed it into chat there. Lycan, it's Lycan. It's werewolf moss.
Yes. Lycans. I forget exactly what I said.
Yeah, you came up with like 4 or 5 in a row.
Yeah. But it was just hilarious, that little chat going on in the Critters D&D chat. But what did you
We kept it going for a while.
Yeah, what did you guys think of the actual the actual description of the werebeasts and the interaction?
They were very intimidating. I felt like Mercer was definitely stressing, that almost bestial presence, that overwhelming, intimidating presence.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It was good. It was different.
I enjoyed it. But again, as I've mentioned before, my first ever role-playing experience was in a combined World of Darkness, Vampire the Masquerade, werewolf campaign. So I'm used to seeing werewolves and werebeasts and things like that. And so that really kind of, I guess it holds a nostalgic place for me.
Yeah.
But I definitely knew that these things were not anything to trifle with. And especially where, they're making deals with things, and then as soon as they make the deal, they back away from the deal. I'm like, you guys, you didn't hear it, or you either didn't hear it or you didn't remember, but you just promised to do something, and the leader of these werebeasts said, you can't leave until you do this.
Well, that's the thing. While I was rewatching it, they didn't actually agree. They kept questioning the deal. And it finally, Utarak, however you say his name, finally said, fine, you don't want to deal with me, go talk to the Pixies, then you'll see you have to deal with me.
That's very true. and I also I've been hearing a lot in chat, and I read a lot in Reddit. Is these people keep making deals, or Vox Machina keep making deals in the Feywild, and they're told not to make deals with anybody. But really, in this particular circumstance, they didn't have a lot of choice. Like their backs were to the wall. Either they made that. It wasn't really a deal, but either they allowed that conversation to happen and kind of leave it in the air that sure, we might go talk to the fairies, or to the pixies, sorry, and come back, or have a fight then and there. So there's a lot of people being very judgmental about all of these decisions that Vox Machina is making, but Matt is being very... he's doing his job very well in kind of putting them in situations where they have to make these choices and sacrifices, and they're not always going to be the right choice or the best choice, but they have to make these choices, and I mean that's what makes a great show.
Right. Yeah, I mean, making the hard decision is when it's the only decision you have. It adds that layer of depth, and it's gonna come back to bite you at some point, but you don't know how.
Yes, as is it Lene?
That's the one I thought was INA.
INA? Maybe you can just let us know in chat. He or she was saying, I was just waiting for Travis to say, hey, come here and bite me. And me too. I just saw that look on his face. He was like a kid in a candy store. He was so happy. They were everywhere. And I was just expecting him just to walk up and go, hey, I want what you have. Make it happen.
Yep.
He might. He still might.
Yeah, I'm excited, but I don't think Matt is going to allow. I don't think Matt's going to allow Lycan.
Well, the biggest
loose in his world.
Yeah, I don't, because there's a Lycan template. It adds a lot of power to an already powerful character.
Lycans are OP, yo.
Here's the biggest problem, though. Once you get lycanthropy in D&D, when the moon is full, you lose control of your character.
Yeah. Yep.
And
can you imagine? Oh my gosh.
Yeah. An uncontrolled Grog not able to tell friend from foe with twice his current power, the party would be wiped out in minutes.
I feel like Travis has thought of this and would still do it. Like, if the opportunity was given to him, but I think Kalia's right. I don't think Matt's going to allow that to happen.
I don't think he's going to allow it. I mean, Matt has the homebrew stuff for the Blood Hunter Order of the Lycan, and maybe that's a way in, but it doesn't. I don't know. It adds that element of the unknown that I don't think Matt or Travis want to necessarily deal with. I mean, they may be in talks about it right now, for all we know, about and negotiating about how to bring this in.
It's possible.
But, I mean, we don't know until we see it, obviously.
Indeed. But I mean, the one thing that I was proud to see in that scene was that Matt didn't stick to just werewolves. He brought in werebears and weretigers.
Yes.
And
yeah,
that was just awesome.
That's pretty cool.
Well, I'm going to say very, very little so as not to spoil much. But if any of you are playing Curse of Strahd, or even if you're not playing Curse of Strahd right now, there are were-ravens within Curse of Strahd. So, I mean, the precedent for other were-creatures is actually there within D&D. It's just that everybody tends to get hung up on the werewolves.
Yeah.
Because it's what we're most familiar with as a culture, I think.
Well, that and werewolves having the wolf mentality behind them are the most likely to be found because they travel in packs.
Right.
With werebears and were-tigers especially, those are
solo.
Pretty solitary creatures. Now the ravens, however, totally feasible to see a murder of were-ravens. And if you encounter were-ravens, it probably will be murder. But yeah, so the deal that was being offered was, we'll make sure that you get out of the forest safely if you go and destroy this
pixie circle.
Yeah. And I think Vox Machina would have been more likely to fully take the agreement if they had been told up front, now that you're in the forest, the pixies won't let you leave until you take out this pixie circle to disrupt that enchantment.
Well, in this particular instance, I really would have liked Vox Machina to maybe look at the picture in a more broader spectrum before they just walked over to the town and just decided to throw things at it, which is it's a very common Dungeons and Dragons group thing to do, is just walk up to a situation and just go, let's do this and run. So I'm not saying that was the wrong thing to do in any way, but there's obviously a lot more of a story behind all of this. So you've got, this very ritualistic circle in the middle of the pixie world. Obviously there's some reason for it being there. And then you've got this large bubble that's keeping these lycanthrope locked in a certain area. I wonder if Vox Machina actually did take the time to talk to the pixies, and maybe the pixies told them the story of how they'd taken it upon themselves. And this is my assumption as to what that circle was for. It feels to me like those pixies had taken it upon themselves to keep the lycanthropes contained.
Yes.
Maybe they could have worked out an alternate deal. Right. Like something a little, because I'm sure Vox Machina doesn't want these creatures now running loose. Like Matt's gonna play havoc with that. I would.
Yeah.
I would. I'd be like, yes, you've let my beasts free.
I would not be surprised if around level 17 or 18, if they continue playing that long, Vox Machina starts running into a higher number of were creatures on the prime material plane as a result of freeing them from the Feywild.
Yeah, I was really surprised, actually, because by this point Scanlan had already finished reading his book.
No, that was after the ambush type thing, or not after the ambush, but after the.
Was that after the ambush? Okay.
Oh, after they got done modifying the Pixie City. What Vox Machina did, for those of you at home, after they got done talking to the Lycans, they found their way by following these will-o-wisp type things to the Pixie City. And instead of actually destroying the circle that they found there, they didn't even go into the city. From maximum range, Keyless cast hallucinatory terrain to make it appear that the city had been destroyed and all of that, and then they just ran.
And I was really surprised. I really wanted Vox Machina to talk to the pixies, because from a player standpoint, this is not even a DM standpoint. This is from a player standpoint. We had the Lycan side. We hadn't heard the Pixie side, and as much was said between the Lycans and Vox Machina. Well, you've heard one side, you've heard our side, go hear theirs.
And they didn't.
They never heard the Pixie side. They got so worried by what Matt was potentially throwing at them that they freaked out, like I did earlier in my game tonight. I freaked out and did something stupid. They freaked out, and they cast hallucinatory terrain, and they never talked to the pixies, which then when the pixies came sniffing around to try and figure out who had done this hallucinatory terrain to their village to freak them out, they were already on the wrong side of the bargaining table.
Yep.
Right.
Which potentially could have been avoided if they had talked to him in the first place without doing the stupid stuff first.
Absolutely.
I mean, it was an interesting use of the spell too. I was quite surprised that Matt allowed her hallucinatory terrain to affect the buildings and like other aspects to it as well, and not just.
Well, a building is part of the terrain. If a druid were to cast hallucinatory terrain inside a city, it would affect how the buildings look as well.
Okay.
Because they are part of the terrain.
That's not how I've always had it in my head as it working, but I'm just having a look.
Well, I mean, think about it. You can break through a wall, but it's still a wall. You go into a cave, and let's say there is a thin slab of rock between two chambers of the cave. You can smash through the wall of the cave.
Right. So you make natural terrain sound or look like something else, and natural. So that was always the word.
That would preclude the buildings.
Well, also keep in mind.
But buildings are natural. Buildings are man-made.
Keep in mind, they're pixies, so they're probably not.
Oh, so you think like because the buildings are made of natural substance?
Right.
Could be.
Yeah.
In my world, pixies literally grow their houses. They shape the plants into a house form.
Okay,
and
so
that's
you
correct.
could argue that.
That's correct, Adam. We have no idea what the pixies would have done. It's entirely possible that these pixies were evil from the start. Reading through the DMG, it doesn't say that pixies are evil, but they can certainly be twisted. I mean, there's the Seelie court and the Unseelie court, and the Unseelie court is largely evil.
In D&D. In D&D.
Okay. In D&D and other mythologies, it seems to kind of follow the same way too. Seelie is the good guys. Unseelie is typically the bad guys.
I will throw in. Talking to a mythological history buff here. A lot of that comes from the influence of Christianity. If you go back to the original Celtic mythologies, the Unseelie court wasn't evil, they were just the court of night.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, I'm going to throw in too that Changeling also from World of Darkness, White Wolf games, they also had Seelie and Unseelie courts, and it was the same way. So,
yeah, but again, that was a game that was created based on current mythologies, and the developers said that straight up, that it is the current mythologies they were building off of.
Right. So that being said, though, and bearing that in mind, it's entirely possible that these pixies were from the Unseelie court, and no amount of talking, whether you have a 22 charisma or not, is going to change their minds. But again, we still don't know the full circumstance.
Yeah. Now, INA, as it has been corrected, ENA has been, as the name has been corrected for us. Thank you much for that.
Still can't get it right.
No, I can't. My Draconic is showing. Going back to the Green Dragon. But ENA says I wanted Scanlan to parlay to both sides and say, hey, I got this meeting place in mind where we can discuss an agreement. It's got great atmosphere, gentle music, just mind where you step. One thing that we sort of glossed over was before running into the Lycans, the group had come across Happy's camp.
Right, the camp they were told to avoid.
Yes.
At all costs.
There was a drum, a violin, and a flute, I believe it was.
Yep, it was a flute.
Spectral instruments just floating in there playing music, and they saw an elf and a Lycan dancing around a fire, and they went to investigate. Scanlan got charmed, Vax got charmed, Vex was able to not get charmed.
And Percy went running in to save Scanlan.
No, it was Grog that ended up saving Scanlan.
That's right. Grog raged.
Yeah, Grog raged so that he could not be charmed, ran in to save Scanlan. Percy shot Grog a few times in order to keep the rage going. But...
Yep. And
I actually like
Percy and Vex also both shot some of the instruments. The drums and the violin.
Yes.
That didn't work out very well.
No.
I like how Keyleth actually initiated his rage. And she turned her fist into like a big earth fist and just clocked him across the jaw.
Yep.
That was just that image in my mind was just so sweet.
Oh, it was awesome.
Really
the thing that killed that image for me, though, was you take 1 point of damage.
Indeed.
I know, right?
Indeed.
Love tap across the jaw, but your jaw is dislocated and you have to put it back. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And Kalia, just to let you know, yes, that was in reference to an earlier private conversation we had.
I'm on to you. Geek Dragon, man. I'm telling you guys, watch it.
Indeed.
Watch it. Green Dragon.
I won't keep you guys in suspense. For those of you at home, apparently have caught on to the fact that I say indeed a lot. So somebody came up with a drinking game where they take a drink every time I say indeed.
Oh my lord.
It's one of my local players for my Wednesday Night Adventurers League game, FightFan8 on Twitter. Her actual name is Lissa. She mentioned it Wednesday night, and I mentioned it to Akiva, and so he was like, "All right, I'm gonna pretend that I'm none the wiser. This is where the Green Dragon comes in. I'm gonna pretend I'm none the wiser, and I'm gonna say it a lot tonight." I went, "All right."
And I have been. So
do not play that game.
Tell your
please.
Yeah, don't. Please don't.
She also seemed to mention to me, Kat, that she thought you were catching the Indeed fever.
Yes, I have noticed that as well. I have been saying it a little bit.
I am infecting everybody.
I have been saying a hot second a lot as well, which I've picked up from Marisha. That's fantastic. I don't know how I picked that up from her, because I've never heard that said before. And then when we went to Haven Expo, she's like, "I'm just going to do this for a hot second," and it's just stuck with me. And I keep saying hot second, and my husband just looks at me. He's like, "What is this? Like, stop it." So I am one of those people. It's bad.
That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. I love that.
Absolutely. So, but getting back to the episode, yeah. So they went back in and cast this hallucinatory terrain and then ran. And when they got to the edge of the forest, they hit a magical wall. So,
Grog.
Go ahead.
Grog pulled a grog.
Yep, just slammed right into it.
It's the answer to everything.
And then he attacked the wall.
And yeah, he attacked it. Yeah.
And he nearly broke his back in doing so.
He got thrown with a wave of force into a tree. It was funny and painful all at the same time.
Akuma, we actually mentioned that we mentioned earlier that Travis, aka Grog, did really, really, really want to, you know, get involved with the werewolves, become more intimate with their ways. But we only touched on it briefly.
Yeah. Primarily saying that we don't think Matt would allow it because of the fact you lose control of your character during the full moon.
Yeah, in D&D Adventurers League, if you contract vampirism or lycanthropy, you actually cannot play that character until you get it cured through some method.
Yep. I don't know if you guys read the webcomic Order of the Stick.
I've read it before, but I don't keep up with it.
No.
Okay, so it's based on 3.5 D&D. But the current story arc, their cleric was actually turned into a vampire. And it does a great job of demonstrating why a character loses, or a player loses control of that character. In the Order of the Stick, it shows the vampire, or like in the mindscape of that character, the actual character is bound and unable to control the body anymore, and then the vampire personality is there in that mindscape, you know, controlling everything and taking the proper actions and everything. So it just struck me as a great mechanic to use if a player ever contracts vampirism or lycanthropy or anything like that.
I mean, it can be done, but yeah.
Yeah. So after Grog got his butt kicked by a wall, which is a change because they're usually getting their butts kicked by a door.
Yep.
They make camp for the night. Scanlan finishes reading his book and promptly passes out. Achilles had an interesting interaction, having gone into her minxie form. She had an interesting interaction with the pixies.
I really enjoyed this scene, actually.
Oh yeah.
This was really good on Marisha's part, and it was really good on Matt's part too, because Marisha, or Keyleth rather, learned a lot from this interaction. And she played it so well. I mean, she played the lovable, stupid kitten, I guess, is the best way to put it.
Yep.
You know, she turned belly up so that you know, they wouldn't think anything of her, and the whole time she's hearing them speaking in Sylvan and learning what it is that they're doing here, what they're looking for, and things like that. And it was really well played on Marisha's part.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so there was also a lot of talk in the Geek and Sundry chat about the magic, about the magic that the pixies were using through the use of wands and that sort of thing.
Aine says, cat eating grass, or yeah, cat eating grass, real smooth, Kiki.
Hey, I have seen plenty of cats do that when they notice I'm watching them. They'll just sit there. Oh wait, oh hey, look, a tuft of grass. Nom nom. So
It's good for the gut. True story.
it really is. I mean, granted, they tend to vomit it up, but
Sure.
that usually clears out things that they can't digest and
I mean,
aren't.
Kiki had a long walk back, so she could have, you know,
Yep.
looked that grass up at some point. I do just want to mention Adam's comment as well. I wouldn't be surprised if Kiki would have become more jaded of the Feywild by the end of their adventure. She was excited when they first arrived, but by the end of it, she'll never want to return. So that... I think she's starting to learn very quickly that it's a dangerous place. I was really surprised with this episode, I'm going to be honest, with Keyleth, And it just shows that she's growing as a character and becoming much more of a stronger character. She wasn't that upset by the end of it. And maybe we can touch on that a bit more at the end. But
I most definitely want to touch on it more because I'm a little confused by what you mean.
Okay, great.
So, but yeah, she follows the pixies, and of course, they want to make sure that she's just a cat. So one of the pixies uses a wand, and she makes the save to get away from, or to overcome whatever effect it was. I think it was a charm effect, because the pixie looked at the wand and was like, what is wrong with this thing? And then another pixie cast something else. I assume it was petrification, because of the way Matt described it. And she made her save on that as well.
One thing we haven't touched on tonight, and I'm going to mention this real quick. How many natural 20s happened? Like 14?
Oh no,
or something?
There were another like 5 or 6 after that, when we asked crit roll stats how many natural 20s, or when I asked crit roll stats, they were at 14.
So, yeah. Insane amounts of natural 20s. They weren't rolling much besides 1 and 20. The dice might as well have been coins.
Yeah, I think I actually said that at one point. They're not rolling.
You did.
Yeah, they're not rolling d20s. They're flipping coins. On one side it's a 1, on the other it's a 20. So.
Yeah.
ENA. We sort of glossed over it, but ENA is bringing it up, and I know it was brought up earlier, but I can't remember who it. Oh no, it was ENA again. At the beginning of the episode, Grog and Scanlan ran into the bear cave, and then when
Percy and Keyleth.
Yeah, Percy and Keyleth decided to gamble on how long it would take them before they had to rush in and save them. And then again, when the party split up, sort of, in order to investigate Happy's camp, Keyleth again made a wager with Percy on how much it would, or how long it would be before they either came running back or they had to go in and save them.
Okay, so Chad is saying 14 natural 20s and 10 natural 1s, so that's almost split down the middle.
Yeah.
That's insane. It's absolutely insane. Some of those were back-to-back 20s and 1s.
Yeah, that's actually close enough that they might as well have been flipping coins. Because if you flip a coin 24 times, it is absolutely within the statistical possibilities of getting that split.
Yeah, I'm certain that they cause a ripple in the cosmos somewhere out there.
Well, yeah, Akiva and I were saying, I said law of averages, F that.
Yeah.
It doesn't apply to Vox Machina, and it doesn't apply to Will Wheaton.
Yeah.
Everywhere else it applies.
Yeah, your exact phrase, or your exact quote was, law of averages? No, that's just a theory at this point. And I was like, no.
Yeah.
I was like, no, it's still a law. There's just a footnote that it doesn't apply to Vox Machina or Will Wheaton.
We had fun with that. Sky, I haven't seen how many actual rolls there were. I haven't seen any stats on that, but I'm sure our good friend Andrew over at Crit Roll Stats could tell us.
Yes. And actually I will, if you would like, I will rewatch the episode, and in our next episode of Gilmore's Glorious Gossip, I will count every roll.
Madness. Madness.
Yeah, Adam Schwartz in the chat brings up, don't forget Sam rolling 2 nat 20s with disadvantage. Matt's face with that number of 20s, he was just utter disbelief
Yeah.
Yeah, he face palmed almost instantly.
Yeah. But wow. Anyway, so that after getting the reconnaissance that the Pixies were looking for someone based off of the big scare that the Pixies had mentioned, Keyleth goes back or starts heading back to the camp. Vex was asleep when she left. Vex wakes her brother up and says, "Hey, your girlfriend has been gone for a couple of hours." And without hesitation, he activates his flight and takes off.
Yep.
Like, the
Yes.
Keyleth may be hesitating on the ship, but Vax is holding
Vax is all in.
He's holding his boarding pass, waiting at the dock, saying, "Any day now, Keyleth."
Well, and we did get confirmation later. He spooned her and fell asleep.
Well, after she got back and relayed what she had learned, Vax and Vex were both going to sit up for a little while. Excuse me. And Keyleth said, "I sleep really close to Vax." And I was like, "Ooh, it's still there." And then, with other individuals, saying, "Yeah, we'll stay up," Vax is like, "Fine, I'm going to sleep," and then spoons her. It was cute.
It was very sweet, and I love her response. Yeah, I'll allow it. It was like just a moment's thought. She's like, yeah, sure. Yeah, I think this is definitely going to be a passive relationship now that we kind of just see just happen. I don't think they're going to be trying to force it in game anymore, and I like that better.
Yes.
It feels a lot more organic that it's happening, and it's sweet. Yeah.
I mean, they both acknowledge that they have the feelings for each other, and that's good enough. It's a start. We'll let it grow.
Yep. I think we might see some little comments here and there, like Vax and Keyleth sharing a room, or something along those lines. But it won't be as overt as it has been.
Yes.
So.
Love to see.
But they get their rest. Percy had written a sign, "Dear Pixies, taking a nap. We'll talk when we're awake." And then when they do get up, they make tea and wait for the Pixies.
Well, I quite like this. How Vex is the one who's doing all of this diplomacy, almost like she's taken that title. And
Yes.
she's like, okay, so I'm this person now, and I need to arrange things to greet the Pixies when they come to discuss it. What do I do? The teacups? Should I just put tea? I'll just put them here. Okay, I'll just put. What else? What else did she pull out? It was like all her cursed items. And she's like, don't drink the tea, because she didn't know what those teacups did. It was.
And here's the interesting thing that I saw in it. So Vex has always been a very money-minded individual, but she's also been very rough and tumble. And if she hadn't had the title, I don't think she would have done the tea. Percy gave her this title, and she's like, "Oh, now I'm a baroness. There are certain expectations of court that I have to follow."
Right.
And as Adam Schwartz is saying, trying to be more ladylike. So, but yeah, the Pixies show up, and the first thing they do is inspect the party to make sure they weren't bitten, and then because of Grog's size, I guess, or just the danger sense about him.
No, so Matt had one of the pixies see a cut. Now, he indicated a cut above his eyebrow, so I think he was trying to refer back to the cut that Scanlan gave him in the bear cave.
Yep.
The thing that kind of I kind of tweaked on this was because Vex healed him with a cure wounds, I believed, and he said that actually knitted it all back together. So I didn't think that wound was still there.
Well,
whether Matt forgot about that and didn't mean to say that, or whether he was referring to a cut that Grog had received from getting flung back to the tree or into the tree, either way, let it play out.
There's several different ways that you can run a cure wounds. Even if you run it where it heals the wound, literally heals the wound, speeds up the healing process and all that, you're going to have new skin where that cut was. So it's going to be obvious that something happened there for at least a couple of days.
Depending on how deep the cut is, yeah.
Very true. Otherwise, maybe it's scar tissue. The other possibility is that it literally undoes the damage. And I think this was an indication from Matt that it speeds up the healing process.
Yeah, I would have agreed with you, but he actually did say that it knitted the wound together and healed it.
But
he said that verbally.
At the same time, if you talk to, so my wife is a pharmacy tech. My dad was a nurse, and if you talk to a doctor, they've used that phrase before, skin knitting back together and that sort of thing, and it's the natural healing process, which leaves that batch of new skin where you can see that there was a cut, even though there is skin there now. There was something that was there for at least a few days, usually a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it could have been that.
So that's the way I took it. But that's because of the background that I'm coming from. I don't know your background well enough to say anything else, so.
I had conveniently forgotten the healing of the cut. The one that I was keying on the most was the cut that Vax had given Grog when he said that he stabbed him earlier, and again, he took 1 point of damage.
Well, I didn't hear Matt say take a point of damage. I heard Travis say I take a point of damage. So, I don't know if Matt caught that or not.
Maybe he was just being nice. I'll just take a point of damage for that.
Yeah.
Good old Travis. Yeah, I remember that too, Glia. So it could have been that. It could have been multiple things. But yeah, they noticed a cut of sorts in some place, and that made them think, oh, he's been bitten or scratched, so they were concerned.
Ian A is quick to point out, but Akiva, you forget, magic.
I'm doing spooky hand waving here.
Magic, yes. But, as I said, it's just, the method that the magic is delivered is all I was going into. And ENA also points out it was Vax that had said you took 11 damage. So.
Well, and also Scanlan during that whole point mentioned, while the Pixies were questioning this, Scanlan actually said, no, I cut him over the eye, and that one, and he pointed to Vax, cut him in the side just now. He's good. He hasn't been touched by any of these werebeasts. But they still said, rather safe than sorry, and they turned him to stone. They petrified him.
So, the Grog was like, no, let them do what they need to do in order to feel safe, and so the Pixies petrified them, and I went through and timed it, and it was confirmed by others who had timed it, and somebody actually posted a time-lapse GIF on Twitter, and I apologize that I can't remember who it was. Travis held the same pose for 7 minutes and 23 seconds.
28. It was really close to 20. It was really close to 30.
Oh.
It was like 7:28.
Okay.
That is method commitment right there.
Yes, it is.
And the astonishing thing to me was the fact that people threw things at him. They waved their hands in front of his face. They messed with him in every conceivable manner.
And
he was rock solid.
The only movement that you can see is his occasional breathing and his blinking. But those are things that, one, you have to breathe, and two, blinking...
You have to blink.
I mean, unless you close your eyes, the blinking is going to be there.
Right. The other thing, towards the end, I noticed that he was starting to move his eyes side to side, but still, no big deal.
Yeah. So, that just... Wow.
Yeah. He's obviously doing it for the jokes. Yeah.
Well, and then, funny. Well, continuing with the joke, there was when Vax got petrified in combat.
They did that Liam, high five over Laura's head,
and froze there for like a minute or two.
You could see they thought about it. Like, are we going to hold this? And then it was just like, no.
Yeah.
Nope.
Not going to do that.
So, but yeah, the Pixie eventually, they're sitting there talking. And the Pixies are like, okay, we understand that this was a misunderstanding. You guys made a mistake. We'll let you learn your lesson and be off. And then they start to take Grog away. And when the party stops them, at first, the Pixies are offended that Keyleth would cast a spell at them. Until Keyleth clarifies, no. I cast it at my friend. You just happen to be in the area. She cast a what was it?
Root to Earth.
Yeah. Which forced Grog back to the ground. But apparently the Pixies were like, no. Your friend is your lesson. So that would have been... That was scary there for a second.
Yeah, there's no way they're letting Grog go.
Yeah. And 10 points to ENA for her pun. You could even say that my stance was rock solid.
How oppose. This is another moment where they were kind of offered two roads that they could have taken, and I think in their panic they didn't see that as an option. They could have allowed Grog to be taken to this garden, which I'm assuming would have just been like a garden full of rock people, and maybe snuck in and rescued him from them, or maybe followed them back and negotiated terms more, but it turned into a battle. So
I really don't think that first one was an option, though, because...
Yeah.
If they take them to the garden, it's probably going to be in their city, where they probably have guards and such in 24-hour watches.
You don't think it was in that area? Like, maybe just a garden in that area?
No, I think they would want to keep it close to home.
Okay. It was because I was trying to think if there was any other way that they could have gotten around battling them. I mean, in the end, it wasn't a big, massive issue, but that, and we'll get into the battle later, was contingent on some very, lucky they were rolling those 20s, and the ones were not.
As
Can I just say that if Keyleth had gotten turned to stone, it would have been problems.
Over. It would have been over.
It would have been so bad.
I mean, there were so many points during that battle that if they had rolled the wrong way, and I mean, we saw the expression on Matt's face. He was frustrated that they were rolling 20s and nothing but. Because he's like, I can't do this. I mean, they made all of his plans and preparations impotent.
Yep. And so this also goes back to the GNS chat, where they were saying that, oh, those pixies were buffed up and such. Kind of.
Maybe.
So pixies in the monster
Most
manual.
likely.
Pixies from the monster manual, if you're going from that particular stance, yes, the pixies were buffed up. However, in 3.5, and I'm hoping again when the new monster manual comes out with new playable races, pixies were a playable race, which means they could level up and get spells, get magic items, and that sort of thing.
Sure. And I mean, Matt has to beef these guys up because he has a larger than normal party, and they're quite high level. So he wants to give them a challenge. To be honest, I would have liked to have seen the Pixies a little more beefed. I think I get that feeling from, because I kind of, the battle just felt a bit lack for me, and I don't know if it's because I was watching it and I was really exhausted. I was watching it at like midnight or some stupid time last night, or if because of all of the natural 20s, it just made it seem like a bit easier than what I would have liked to have seen.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have seen them even more buffed, but he's definitely going to change and mix with his monsters to make the challenges more interesting and difficult, and that's great.
And I just want to pause, slightly off topic here. Kalia?
Do I need to get out?
Your puns. You have lost the internet. Kalia put in the chat, might you say that you take the puns for granite?
Granite. But I won the interweb tubes. You can't take them away from me, Akiva.
Yes, I can.
I already have them. Nope,
but
they're hidden.
You lost them.
Nope, they're hidden. They're hidden. You can't find them.
You lost them.
We need to start rolling d20s to figure out.
So,
okay.
But
it's going to turn into a D&D game now.
yeah, going back to the combats, Adam does point out that over Twitter, Matt confirmed that the Pixies were a homebrewed variant.
There you go.
So that answers that question. The combat itself was rather interesting. The Pixies had around 30 hit points each.
Yeah.
Which got me wondering about their interaction with the Lycans and why the Lycans were so afraid of them.
Yeah, I suppose, I don't know much about the lycanthropes, but did they have a very low constitution? No, well, they wouldn't.
They have a high constitution and a high wisdom.
Yeah, see, I don't really understand their fear of them either.
So,
'Cause, I mean, he had the leader just walk in and swallow one whole at the end.
well, I also go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I also think that it was because the way that that Udarak was talking, it was more about the leader of the Pixies.
Yes.
Specifically.
Right.
So yeah,
So I wonder if she had something else up her sleeve that we just didn't get to see.
quite possible.
There may have been some kind of political thing going on there that we didn't get to see. And I don't think that Vox Machina is going to take the time to find out what that thing is.
Yeah.
True.
So we'll just have to conjecture as best we can. I'm looking up the stats of the lycanthropes right now. And compared with standard NPCs, like the Werebear has a constitution of 17, wisdom of 12. The Were-Boar, Constitution 15, Wisdom 11. So their wisdom is
Standard-ish.
yeah, standard-ish, a little bit higher, but not too much. So maybe it was because of whatever magic the leader of these pixies had.
Right.
Um, but
Maybe we'll have more interactions with. I forget the leader's name.
Udarak.
That is now their friend and buddy who's going to be stalking them from a safe distance. There might be some more interactions down the line. We might get a bit more of a story out of him, but yeah, I think you're right. I don't think they really particularly care.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna talk to him at all. I mean, Matt may force the issue, may make them talk to them, but I really don't see it progressing.
I don't think Udarak will show up again until the fight to recover Fenthris shows up.
Sure.
He's going to stay as hidden as possible and just stalk. So we'll see. But yeah, during the battle, Matt let one thing slip about the Pixies that I am glad that the players either missed or had the foresight to not metagame.
Yeah, we had this discussion in Critters D&D.
Yes. And that was the fact that each of the Pixies had one counterspell. And the way Matt said it, I don't think he was even aware that he had slipped an amount. Because he said each of these Pixies has a counterspell. Not has counterspell, as in the ability to counter spells, but a counterspell.
Oh, see, I heard that, and I didn't actually assign a number to that. I just thought of it as, okay, each of them has counterspell, like, as their ability. So, either they didn't metagame and they read it like you guys did, or maybe they read it like I did, and was just like, oh yeah, they each have counterspell. They didn't actually assign a number to that word A.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And
Yeah.
it's entirely possible. It's really difficult to tell from this side of things because we don't know what they specifically heard.
But I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I do stuff like that all the time. Where I let things like, I'm just talking in general conversation and I'll just let something like, oh yeah, the bandits. Oh, so they're bandits, are they?
Right. I do that a lot.
No, they're just people who dress like, okay, fine, they're bandits.
That's why like Thursday I was really careful to just say these guys are savages. They're savages.
Right. Savage people.
Well,
So it happens.
in my game Sweet Suffering, there was, my players came across a group of quote unquote bandits, as I told them, essentially looting a town for the criminal underworld. They didn't pause to inspect, but they brought enough attention to them that the Kingdom has already dealt with them now. But they were actually knights from another kingdom trying to not necessarily invade, but sort of do some terrorism tactics, getting the people to doubt their kingdom was capable of protecting them.
Aha.
So sometimes,
We'll keep that in line.
yes. So if you sit there and you let slip bandits, just because you say bandits doesn't mean they're really bandits.
Yes, well, that's true. Sadly, in most cases, they are just bandits, but yeah. Yeah, it's not always the case. Iane, I hope I said that right. Iane, yes, I really do want to talk about the theatre as well. So hopefully we can touch on that in a bit. I'll leave it up to Akiva though when he wants to bring that up.
Yeah, we'll talk about that during the wrap up.
Cool.
Which we're getting pretty close to. But yeah, I couldn't help but laugh during the entire combat because the pixies just kept counterspelling just about everything Vox Machina did. I think the only spell that actually got off was Scanlan's Bigby's hand.
Which was sick, because he did it at such a high level.
Yeah.
And he was just swatting them. Can I just say, when Matt counterspelled Keyleth's, was it 7th level?
Yep. It was her 7th.
That look, I felt so scared for Matt. I thought, oh my god, you're in so much trouble. Like, and even like a couple of, I don't know if you caught it, but a little bit after, like a couple more rounds had taken place, and she brought it up again, and he just looked at her and he's like, I'm sorry. Like, he just worded them out, I'm sorry to her.
Yeah.
And it was so sweet because you can see that change with Matt, like his face. And even when I met him, his expressions and everything are a lot more different, and we all do this. We put on kind of like a DM look, like a DM facet. And so to see that facet kind of break for 2 seconds just so that he could mouth to her, I'm sorry, I was just like, oh, you know, you so know.
Yes.
It was really sweet.
Because you know that they went home, and Keyleth was like, Marisha was like, really, Matt? Really?
Yeah. Oh, it was her 6th?
Oh, no, her 6th and her 7th.
Oh, he did it to her twice.
Sunbeam, and again with her Greater Restoration.
Yeah, I thought it was Greater Restoration, the one that I remember. So.
He did it to both of them.
Ah, funny.
So, but, you know, they finally killed the pixies, and then were led by the Lycans back to the pixie village, where they massacred the rest of them, tore up the stones, and headed back on their way, with Garmelie leading them, and they got to the river, and that's where Matt called it. But of course, because Scanlan had used his 7th level spell on Bigby's hand, they weren't able to sleep in the mansion, so...
Yep.
Yeah, so they made the deal with the Lycan dude, or he honored their deal.
Yep.
Took them back to the pixie place, looted the pixie place.
Which was hilarious.
Yes.
Now, I'm surprised...
Because Percy has a dollhouse, damn it, and he has to fill it with
Yes.
That was hilarious. That was absolutely hilarious. I loved that.
Now,
I believe it.
I am surprised that certain items, like the wands, maybe 1 or 2 minor magical items, didn't grow to human proportions. I mean, I guess it's because they were crafted by pixies. They would have been made straight for pixie size. But pixies have an ability where something that's made for a medium-sized creature, or even a large, I think it's large or smaller, they can resize that for their use. So...
Well, and that used to be a thing in vanilla D&D in 3.5. You know, you have a large sword, a great sword, but it was per race. It was relative to race.
Yes.
So a large greatsword is relatively sized for a dwarf, or a gnome, or a halfling, or a human, or whatever.
Yeah, a halfling a halfling greatsword is a human longsword.
Right.
But
Interesting.
in 5th edition, they simplified it. No, a greatsword is a greatsword. So they've sort of just skimmed over the sizing rules. I think there might be optional rules for it. I know some DMs have homebrewed those rules, but
I mean, I kind of prefer that. I like the images that we get, of smaller creatures being able to wield these massive weapons. That's always been a thing with me, and to think that, I like it. I like that change.
Indeed. Yes, that was purpose.
What's this?
I'm good. Nope. Go on.
You guys, little inside jokes. Okay.
No, we explained it.
We're still playing the drinking game.
Oh my gosh. I don't even hear the word now. It's that comment. I just doesn't even trigger with me.
But that will bring us to the end of the episode. I know, Kat, you had said there was something you wanted to bring up later when we were talking about the hallucinatory terrain and the pixies and all that.
Yeah. Well, I think that maybe it's just me. I kind of felt like Keyleth didn't put up as much fight as she probably once would have in the face of, I suppose, attacking the fairies or the pixies. I keep calling them fairies. Pixies. I don't know. Or even after the math. I mean, I know that the beginning of the fight there wasn't much time to think about it, but the aftermath of seeing like all of these pixies kind of splattered across trees and everything like that, and maybe going back to their village. She did have a look across her face that was kind of a bit put off when they started to loot the village. Yeah. But I was surprised that she wasn't more verbal, because she's always been the conscience of the group, I suppose. Even to the point where a lot of the time she'll say things that are unpopular, which is why, one of the reasons why she's, definitely picked and prodded a lot by people, is because, she's quite honest and she's quite upfront with her thoughts on things, which is a great thing to see in a character.
True.
But yeah, she was quite silent as everyone started picking through these pixies' homes, and that surprised me.
Well, the thing about Keyleth, I'm realizing that Marisha plays the low charisma score very heavily, and I think she was playing that particular situation of, oh shit, I'm scared, everybody else is talking about going along with this plan, I'll go along with the group, instead of relying on her wisdom of, guys, why don't we actually talk to the pixies first? And it came across really, really well, and I think it was great roleplay and great use of stats within that, or to facilitate roleplay. Because, there are quite a few times where an individual will be overwhelmed by the group, and they'll go along with the group even though, if they take the time to think about it, they don't think it's a good idea.
Yeah, see, I just never saw Keyleth as somebody who was one to fall to peer pressure on things. She's never been that character before. You think, yeah, as Adam says, I think she was shaken. Perhaps. I don't see Keyleth as the kind of person who gets shaken. I see her as a very strong person, a very strong character. I'm wondering if it's more that she's starting to realize that these things are just nature. Is just going to happen. Which kind of goes back, and I forget whose the comment was that triggered this entire conversation. I'm sorry. I think it was Adam, actually. Maybe. It goes back to that whole comment of, how is this now going to mold her? She came in thinking that it was all pretty and beautiful,
right?
And she's quickly learning that it's not, and it's just like the other realm, right? There's evil, there's trickery. You can't touch anything without it kind of biting back at you. And so that's kind of the more feeling as I'm getting from her is she's she's starting to realize that, just like in the other realm,
Yep.
she can't control.
Yeah.
Well, we all know that Keyleth is wise as F, but she's a little bit more wise as F now. She's starting to wisen up. She's starting to see the truth of things.
Yes.
And the only way she can really learn that is through experience. They've been to the Feywild once before. I'm guessing that was previous to Critical Role going live. Or being filmed, or you know what I'm trying to say, being
going
streamed
on Twitch. Yeah.
So we didn't see that interaction. All we know is that Grog kind of got a bit of a girlfriend out of it, who we got to meet this time around. So I mean, she's learning things about the Feywild more. And she's in a place now where she can take that advice to heart.
Yep.
Yeah. It'll be interesting.
So.
And EINA says, no matter what you do not verbally abuse the grass.
Yes.
I know, right?
There was something else that we wanted to talk about during the wrap-up.
Theater.
The theater, yes. I don't think they're going to come across the theater. Honestly.
You think they've bypassed it?
I think it's back in Singorn.
Oh.
Hard to say. I do want to know why Garmelie is so upset about the theater.
I blame Liam for that. He's like, he's fueled my need now to know what this theater is. If you just
now,
let it go.
What? This is made even better by the fact Saints Row 4 Gat Out of Hell was one of the free games on PS Plus this month. Liam actually voices Shakespeare in Gat Out of Hell. And actually, Travis is Satan, and Liam is Shakespeare, and Vlad the Impaler, and a whole bunch of others. But it's made even better by the fact that Liam voices Shakespeare in this game, and it's very much Vaxel Dawn.
Yes.
You listen to his voice portrayal of Shakespeare, and it's very much Vaxel Dawn. So I kind of giggled when I heard him go, well, what about the theater? And I was like, Shakespeare Vax! Vax-spear.
Oh.
Shakespeare.
There we go.
But
So any ideas of what it could be? I have none. I honestly do not think that the Happy Camp would be a literal camp. And I love that too. That whole dancing until you die is an old fairy tale, I believe. That he's drawn from that.
Yeah, that's actually something that I put into, when Akiva helped me with the Dora the Adventurer one-shot, Rhoda the Adventurer one-shot, that was one of the things that we did. We had the windmill that if they failed their wisdom save, they started dancing. And they had to figure out how to stop the dancing. And when they did finally stop the dancing, people didn't die, but they did fall over absolutely exhausted.
Yes. Yeah. It's a lot of those really old twisted fairy tales are great cannon fodder for any DM looking for ideas.
If you're looking for the original incarnation of that, the old myth was that if you came across a satyr, you had to be careful because they would start playing a joyful song, you would start dancing, and you wouldn't stop until you died.
All right. Okay. So I'm kind of hoping that they haven't passed it. I'm kind of hoping you're wrong, Akiva, because I want to know what it is.
Secretly, I'm hoping I'm wrong too. But
Well, we'll get to talk to Matt prior to Saturday's episode, hopefully.
Yes.
Oh yes, good luck dragging that out of him.
Well, we are going to the Q&A, and we're not necessarily going to ask about the theater, but we are going to ask if they've passed the theater.
Oh.
So, but that will bring us to this week's DM's Corner.
Oh, Adam has mentioned a couple times. By the way, Akiva, the thing you mentioned earlier about bandits not being bandits, that reminds me of our game where we tried to subdue a chain gang only to hear that they were slaves.
Yes, and that is a story in and of itself that we really don't have a lot of time to get into. And it is a private game that I want to make sure that I have the DM and other players' permission before I talk about it, because it is a private game.
Gotcha.
So that's why I've been ignoring it. I'm not trying to be mean or anything, Adam. I know you may want to bring it up, but if the other players don't want to bring up the game, I'm not going to. And until I get their permission, I'm not going to. So there's that. But this week's DM's Corner comes to us from Joseph Tracy at TimeKnight113. Yes, Kat, I did see your questions as well. But since
honestly, that was more just me jibing you, because I said that I was going to ask. And the questions I got, I'm like, I'm sure we've already touched on these, and okay, well, these are the questions I got. Whatever.
So, actually, before I get into that, Ian A is asking, now that the Lycans are free, what do you think Nala's reaction will be to possible new visitors / neighbors? Considering they're Lycans, not good.
Terrible. Absolutely terrible.
Yes. So, alright, so as I was saying, the DM's Corner, coming from Joseph Tracy at TimeKnight113. When PCs are unconscious, when hit, they auto-fail 2 death saves when they're hit or damaged by an enemy or an NPC. Am I reading wrong? Seems harsh. So what happens is, when you are unconscious, any attack made on you is automatically a critical. And
not entirely true. It has to be within 5 feet with a melee weapon.
Well,
then it becomes an auto crit.
Yes. When you're hit with a melee, I'll clarify. Thank you, Kalia. When hit with a melee attack within 5 feet, it's an auto critical, and per death save rules, any critical attack you automatically lose 2 death saves.
So the answer is yes.
Yes. That's really to push the idea that death is a very real thing within D&D. Just be glad that Wizards of the Coast got away, or stopped doing the coup de grace attack from 3rd and 3.5 edition.
Yeah, because then they can just slit your throat and you're done.
Yeah. Usually with 3rd and 3.5, you hit 0, and then you started bleeding out, and you had to make a save in order to stabilize. So you would then stop at whatever negative you were at, and when you hit -10, you're dead. Coup de grace was the character is either asleep, prone, unconscious, or bound, and therefore unable to resist. You make an attack and they die. And it's not even an attack roll. It's just they're bound up.
It was an action.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're
I mean, I still allow coup de grace with my players in relation to NPCs to make battles quicker.
Oh yeah.
So you can still utilize that rule if they're like, they've got some guy bound and they've been torturing him to get information and they're done, and then they're like, well, now we're just going to kill him. You don't want to go through like a ton of rounds of them like beating him until he's 0 hit points, you can just go, yeah, coup de grace, slit his throat. But for a player, that's rough.
Yep.
That's rough.
Kalia, you mentioned in the chat, I suppose you could have a reach weapon as well, and it would count the same. Halberd, for example. Reach weapon being a weapon that gives you further than 10 feet of reach for your attack. Both Jeremy Crawford and Mike Merles actually have addressed that particular one, and no, it has to be within 5 feet.
Okay.
And I do. Oh, sorry.
And that's to get away from, or that's to essentially to the intent being to protect the PCs from attacks like a Dragon's Breath weapon or a wing attack.
Well, here's the thing: you're still going to fail a death save.
Oh, yes.
Whether you take damage of any sort.
Yes.
In the combat. But within 5 feet with the melee attack, that's when you fail too, because it becomes an automatic critical.
If you're prone to run, yes, correct, yes.
Right. And on the converse side, on the flip side of the coin, if you roll a natural 20 for your death saving throw, you are back up. Most DMs will keep you prone. You'll have to use your 15 feet of movement, or half of your movement to get back up. But you are awake, conscious, with 1 hit point.
Yes.
On that natural 20 saving throw. So there is a way out of it.
But if you roll a 1,
makes the situation more dire. If you roll that 1, that's again 2 failed saves.
Yes. Raisin Girl 13 says in the chat, I like that system. Death feels like a real threat. Playing 5th, I feel invincible. Referring to the coup de grace system, I believe. So with 3rd and 3.5, the idea was it was their first attempt at a fast game with quote-unquote quick character creation. So
yeah, the joke back then in like vanilla and 3rd edition and 3.5 is that you always came with a backup character.
Yes.
Because 9 times out of 10 you were going to die.
Yes. Whereas in 5th edition, they've shifted the focus to the stories. You can still do the dungeon crawls and that sort of thing. In most cases, if it is purely a murder hobo campaign, you're going to be fighting things that are several levels and maybe 1 or 2 challenge ratings above what you normally would.
Now, in saying that, I do actually agree with Raisin Girl in that I do feel a little invincible with 5th edition, and I feel like players get a lot of chances.
I would
like.
Go ahead.
I would like to see them maybe I don't have an answer of how they would rework it. I really don't, but I kind of think that maybe there could be just a little bit of tweaking there. I feel like they get so many chances, and healing is so overpowered, and the resurrection spells, like what Matt does to his, is really good because they are OP. You can just pull people back from death so easily in this game.
Yeah, well, but at the same time, I would just like to point out that in Desert Winds, my first character, Adron Nilo, was killed. Yep. And I'm now on Vengeance, so death is a very real possibility. And
it can happen
that as well. So
yeah, it definitely can happen.
Well, okay. So here's another story. This happened a couple weeks ago at my Wednesday night Adventurers League game. Party went up against some night hags, a small coven of night hags. They went in there knowing, okay, we're probably gonna die, but we are level 4 and almost level 5. And we were told by one of the NPCs that we could take these guys. So they went in there, thinking that they were hot shit. They came running up the stairs, which was a very nice pinch point, and one of the sorcerer threw a spell at the head witch, which initiated them into combat. And then she goes, "Girls, we have visitors." And they turned down, and now all of their attention was on the party. And they were perfectly in a line. That witch threw a lightning bolt that dropped both the paladin and the cleric in one lightning bolt, one attack. They were at full health. Natural 20 on my attack roll, critical damage, dealt their entire hit points, 32 points of damage in one attack. So there goes the party's healing. So now they don't have, and they didn't have much in the way of potions. So if I had continued to attack them, very real chance of TPK. Very real chance. As it was the fighter's turn next. He goes, I pick up the cleric, and I nope out. And then one of the other fighters in the party said, I pick up the paladin, and I nope out. And they got the hell out of there, because they realized, we have to do something different. This is not going to work.
Yeah, but they weren't killed. They still lived. And at the end of the day, that was just silly combat. I'm sorry to say.
I did roll the saving throw for the paladin because it was my daughter's character. I rolled a natural 1, and then they were able to, I think they had 1 health potion, and they were like, get that down her gullet quick. And then, she was able to then heal the cleric, but they went running as far as they possibly could from that place.
Yes. But, as I said, with 3rd and 3.5, it was all about mechanics, and in 5th edition, it's about story. It's no longer a
dungeon crawl.
Yeah, a dungeon crawl game. It's a story game. So it really comes down to what your DM wants to do.
Yeah.
I like Matt's system, especially with I feel like resurrection and revive and all of those spells are they're just ridiculous. Like, they need to have those checks in place, and I love how Matt has that requirement of the party to contribute to that and make kind of like a group moment where everyone has to actually accept that this is happening, that they've lost a member. Because even though it's supposed to be based more on story now, what we're getting, what I'm seeing, is a lot of groups that are just like, we've got potions and we've got all of these spells and we can just walk in here and bush and have a pretty good chance of walking away okay. Like, even if we have to like pick up a couple of characters, throw them on our shoulder and run away, that's fine. But I don't know. I'm kind of with Raising Girl. I too feel like death is not respected enough in 5th edition, despite its focus on story, which I love, by the way. I don't think I would have played 4th edition very well, and which was much more combat focused.
Oh god, 4th edition was...
Yeah, that's when I came in. I almost gave up. So... I like what they've done with that. I really would just like to see a little bit more danger.
Okay, so my final parting shot. You can ask any one of my players, whether Desert Winds or my Adventurers League game on Wednesday nights, or you could probably even ask the Ice Pack that I started playing Dungeons and Dragons with on occasional Sundays, as part of his streaming, his sub Sundays. You can ask any one of my groups probably if they have a healthy respect of death, even though I am not out to kill players. It's not my intent. I want to keep the story going. But you can ask them if they have a healthy respect for death, and they will probably say yes.
Oh yeah. I guarantee you there's this, this coming weekend at Gen Con, we're going to have at least 1 or 2 player deaths.
Mm-hmm.
At least. And I'm not talking about in total, I mean per table. So, yeah, you guys say, death is as Skyknight113 in chat is saying, death is easy in 5th edition.
Yeah, but see, I don't really know Sky Knight's experience. I was reading that too. I'm like, no, it's not really that easy. But if you run in guns blazing, chucking bolts at things that are way above your level, then yes, it's very easy. If you're going to be silly about it, yes, it's easy. But if you've got a good group that know what they're doing and they plan things out, yeah. I mean, Kalia's correct though. It comes down to the DM too, constantly challenging the players and putting them in those positions where they do respect death. So it's a bit of a hand-in-hand thing, for sure.
Absolutely. But I think that will wrap up our episode for this week. If you guys enjoyed the episode, click that like button and subscribe to catch us each and every week. Send in any of your D&D questions to us using the hashtag DMsCorner. That's DMSCORNER. If you want to submit art, please contact us via Twitter, either at our official Twitter, at Gilmore_gossip, or to us individually. I'm Akiva David, at AKIVADAPHYDD.
I'm at Cosmic Candy, COSMICCANDI.
And I am at Castiel Games, CASSTI3LGAMES, at Castiel Games on Twitter.
We hope you enjoyed, and until next week, kick back, relax, and enjoy your games.
May all your hits be crits.
Have a nat 20 day, guys.
Good night, guys.